Mary Roberts is coming on right now.
Supervisor Roberts. Okay, we have 27 present and 3 absent.
Hi, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Audrey. Okay. I have the Pledge of Allegiance. Anker, would you lead us?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
We'll take just a moment in silence and remembrance of one of our colleagues, Ron Buchanan, one of our supervisors, served with us at least 25 years or more. Passed away this week, so keep his family in your minds, and let's take just a moment of silence and thanks. Thank you, and Godspeed to you, Ron. We're in compliance with open meetings.
We are, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
Second.
Second from Backlund and move from Paulson or Jaco. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Special order of business, recognizing nonprofit groups that volunteer to Jefferson County Fair. Amy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Listel, the director at the Jefferson County Fair. I do just want to say that Ron was on the fair committee for many years, and one of his favorite things to do was help with our gate workers, and that is the group of people that I will be recognizing tonight. So I feel like this is kind of fitting. Ron would very much appreciate this presentation. The Jefferson County Fair was held last month, July 7th through the 11th, and I'd like to recognize several community organizations that volunteered at the fair this year. We have over 500 volunteers that help us at the fair, and they're a very instrumental part of our operations, and we really appreciate all of them so much. This year, I have created certificates for all of them. And depending on how many hours some of these groups worked at the fair, they may also receive a donation to their organization for helping us at the fair. Not everyone is here tonight to accept these certificates, so I will list them off. And if there's a member of an organization here and they want to come up, they're more than welcome to join me up here. And then if we could meet in the hallway afterwards, to take a photo, that would be wonderful. And let's hold applause until the end because there's a lot of them. Okay, so first is the Battle of the Bars. They were bartenders at the fair for 56 hours of service. I'll list off all of our bartending groups. The chamber was The Jefferson Chamber helped with 57 hours. Community Partners of Jefferson County, 6 hours of service. The CPA was 31 hours of service. Elsie's Kickstart My Heart was 16 hours of service. Friends of the Library did 10 hours of service. Gamilakite Days did 41 hours of service. The Jefferson County Cancer Coalition did 20 hours. Jefferson County Literacy Council, 5 hours. Jefferson High School Wrestling Team, 9 hours. The Lions Club, I don't have which one it was, sorry about that, did 78 hours of bartending service. I Am Okay organization did 56 hours. Team Fisher was 41 hours. And our organization that led the bartending operations and did our management for all of these groups did 547 hours of service, and that was the Jefferson Rotary Club. Next will be our admission gate volunteer groups. We have Johnson Creek Education Foundation for 64 hours of service. Lake Mills Music Parents, 50 hours. Milton Grange, number 670, was 61 hours of service. The Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 409, did 213 hours. St. John the Baptist Catholic School did 50 hours. Jefferson County Humane Society, 23 hours. Friends of Jefferson Public Library helped at the gates for 8.5 hours. There you go. Fort Atkinson Lions Club did 28 hours. Community Support Center, 16 hours. Jefferson County 4-H, 19 hours. And the Rock County Multi-Use Trail Group did 100 hours of service in our parking lot to help us park cars. So that is all of them. We thank them so much. Give a big round of applause. Okay, and that's all for me. Thank you.
And our second portion of our special order of business tonight is a presentation and overview of Jefferson County's redistricting process. Mr. Waymeyer.
So tonight and the next coming months, the county board has a responsibility based on the census being completed to look at redistricting Jefferson County and working with our municipal partners of how those lines will overlap. And so tonight we want to briefly talk about where we believe the timeline is based on some assumptions and things that we have to deal with and how we efficiently need to get through this. As part of this, we want to make sure you're aware of the process and educate the best we can. So when you have constituents ask, what is this redistricting process? You can help talk through that and also understand the timelines. And you're going to see quickly why the understanding timelines is important. One thing to note, under our scenarios we are looking at, we are going to be requesting an additional county board meeting on November 16th so we can finalize these plans. So trying to get that as far out as possible. The November 16th, we are looking at having a tentative county board meeting. So what I'm showing tonight is last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, we held a little planning session with all our municipal partners, talking through some of the timelines, the parameters, potential technical assistance the county can provide. And this, as you'll see later, we also had a survey go out to talk about some of the things they can maybe help us out with a modification of their timeline to get through this process. So as we developed the timeline, we worked with the executive committee as we looked at potential legislation that did not move forward and some of the assumptions that would took place. So most normal years after the census has been complete, the state and the county probably would have had our data roughly around the end of March, beginning of April. Statutorily, the county actually would have had our tentative plan, should have been approved by July 1st. As of this point, we have not received the data. The state has not received the data. It is expected, based on communication from the federal government, that the state should receive it roughly around 16 August. And the goal is we hope we will receive our data 23 August. Now I have 1 September because there's been a few conversations. We may not receive it until 1 September, but we're hoping for 23 August. On the back side of this, we have some statutory responsibility by all the clerks because we have to prep for a spring election for many of the municipal partners and the county board. And the clerk, including our clerk, has a hard timeline that she must issue a type A publication of notice of office positions being available by 23 November. So that's our backside. That's our backside hard stop that we had to program with it.
So in essence, what typically is roughly a 180-day timeline to redistrict is roughly going to be about 75 days is what we're looking at. So we put together 2 timelines to look at this process. And as part of this process, you may, on the very first slide, on the very bottom, you'll see a link to our redistricting portion on our county website. The intent is that we'll keep that website live with new information, timelines, publication of those hearings, information we may receive from our municipal partners, so we can be as transparent and open with the communication, especially with this compressed timeline that we are working through. So towards the end of August, the county is required to do what is called a Class 3 notice, both for the tentative plan and for the final plan. And the most conservative way to look at that is we need to publish it 3 times for 3 weeks in a row. So backwards planning from September 14th, which we would be looking at a public hearing and the potential approval of the tentative plan by this county board, is towards the end of August, we'll need to start looking at getting that plan public hearing noticed. Now, one of the things that we will communicate as part of that public hearing, especially maybe the first or second round, we may not have a plan to reference. And that's part of the way that website is going to be very important, because we can reference that website, but we may not have the data for that plan in the first couple of publications. So we want to make sure that is communicated as we go forward of how that is looked at. As soon as the data is received, our Land Info GIS team will start looking at tentative options of recommendation based on population shifts within the boundaries to make sure they meet the one man, one vote requirements and the variations that are allowed under case law. On September 7th, that is a Tuesday after Labor Day, tentatively, the Executive Committee would meet to review the various options and make a final recommendation that would go to the county board on September 14th. Once their recommendation is finalized, again, that would be publicized of what their tentative plan recommendation would be to the county board. And that would be on September 14th. On the 15th, in the GIS system, there will be a code that the clerks are issued. And once that code is issued as an approved plan with the ordinance number as is authorized by the county, that gives the trigger point that the municipalities will then receive their data so they can begin their work. Under law, they have up to 60 days to complete that work. So this first scenario is if they get the full 60 days, that means we will not get the maps back till, hypothetically, till November 15th. That is a very tight timeline for that final meeting. And so one thing we are asking municipalities is if they can look at getting it done in 45 days or so we have more time to publicize those final maps, so we can have a public hearing the week before the 16th to get feedback back to the county board members. Then on the 16th, we'd have the potential final plan, and then the clerk can publish it. So this 45-day option is, again, a lot of it is the same until we get to November 9th, and so we can get the information back sooner. We would hold a public hearing on November 9th at the county board meeting that's already scheduled, and that's the night you would approve the budget tentatively as well. And then November 16th, we'd have that special meeting as well for the final plan. There are various websites you can go on now to take a look at what's out there. The LTSB is the Legislative Technical Service Bureau, and they're the receiving entity for the state to get the data, and they're the ones who are managing the website that takes place. And so this has a lot of great information on there. It talks about the Whistler, which is the GIS mapping system that all the municipalities will have access to along with county. And if you're interested, there's webinars on there on how to use information and what the process is supposed to be when they did. They actually have some videos for clerks and GIS staff on there as well. We put the line in here for the Elections Commission because we just want to make sure all the clerks have updated information, because the clerks of all the entities are the ones who will receive the code. So we want to ensure they have that information properly updated to get that special code. And then so you're aware, if your communities are asking for assistance on that survey, we are providing GIS technical assistance. The system that for the mapping software is very much GIS based. Many of our staff have gone through training already in the Land Information Department and zoning on how to use this system, because prior to all this, they have been uploading it with new addresses, annexations, all that good stuff that's been taking place prior to this going live as part of the data collection before the census took place. And so if your community comes, hey, can you guys help? We are here to help during that 45 to 60 day process with the technical assistance. And again, that was on that survey we issued out there. So this is some of the homework we gave out to our partners. Again, the whole goal of this is collaboration on getting this done efficiently, but also as open and transparent as possible to ensure we get proper feedback from the public at each level. Again, on the backside, we will have to do a Class 3 notice for the final plan, which means 3 weeks in advance. So finalizing that schedule will become important towards the beginning of October. So we make sure we give the proper notices in place. And then we just open up for questions and answers. So we really want to emphasize the timeline with everyone tonight so you understand it and to be available for questions. Tonight, the resolution before you is talking about who is kind of the Oversight Committee for the county. And the recommendation is the Executive Committee by the Executive Committee. When we look at historical documents from past conversations, precursors to the Executive Committee, such as the Admin and Rules Committee and other named committees who held similar roles, kind of had that responsibility and with support of the staff. And when I say support of staff, it typically was the Administrator's Office, Corp Counsel's Office, the Clerk's Office, and then our technical experts in land and planning, zoning, and land information. So I'm open to any quick questions you may have, but as you can see, once we get this data, we will be moving, and we have to do our best to make sure we have open lines of communication going forward. For some of the communities where they're at large, there might not be as many adjustments, so it's a little bit easier. But for some, when they might have some shifts in populations, that's where it's going to become very important as we look at this. So the intent overall, as we look at the overlap between our supervisory districts and the towns and municipalities, is we try to avoid any cross districts, basically, right? We try to make sure they all kind of coincide together. So we have overlapping representation. So, Mr. Chair, if there's any questions.
Questions from anybody on the board? Supervisor Morris.
So what would our options be if the clerk can't make the November 23 deadline? Are we subject to special rules from the state legislature? Anybody know?
There's been no action taken us for missing July 1st. I think it's going to be really what does that challenge become if that notice is missed, and if there's a candidate for an office and they feel that they weren't properly notified. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And so there's some unknowns, and I know there's some entities talking about potential planning for litigation for local levels as well already.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
If you read the newspaper, I think there's some larger communities already saying they don't know if they're going to make the deadline.
Yeah. Right.
Or smaller ones, quite honestly,
True.
not having the capacity.
Other questions? Other questions? Seeing none.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Waymeyer. Next, we have item 7, approval of minutes from July 13th, 2021 meeting. Supervisor Renard.
I'll move approval of the minutes as presented.
Do I have a second? Second from Supervisor Schultz. Any discussion, changes, questions? All in favor of approval of minutes, say aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes are approved. Communications.
First is the notice of the planning and zoning public hearing that'll take place August 19th, 2021, here in room 205, beginning at 7 p.m. And then you should all have a copy of the treasurer's report on your desk. Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us to public comment. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 folks for public comment. Kristen Voskville. Getting close? Okay. Thank you. You have nice printing.
Hi, I'm Kristen Voskel. I'm from the city of Waterloo. First of all, say I'm really sorry that you guys are facing this tough deadline for districting. That's never fun to be under pressure, especially when it comes to something like this. I guess just a general point that we should respect our school districts and communities and and treat them as communities and us as citizens rather than viewing people as sides or enemies or chess pieces. We are the best to determine, what kind of unites us. I learned when I first moved to Waterloo, when I went to vote, that there's both a city and a town of Waterloo. and I was at the wrong one to vote at. So someone who isn't from around the area might not know that. So I thank you very much for taking this on, and hopefully we can work forward the betterment of our community. So thank you very much.
Tom Levi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name's Tom Levi from Watertown, Wisconsin. And I just wanted to say in 2011, when we last did redistricting in Wisconsin, the Republican-controlled legislature hired a political consultant with very accurate computer models that plotted all the district lines in the state to favor Republican candidates. We have been operating under that plan ever since. The website ballotmedia.org has done an analysis of the 2016 election in Wisconsin and found that 7 of the 8 congressional districts were won by margins of victory of 20% or greater, somewhere up to 37%. The one that wasn't was won by 19.9%. That was Glenn Grothman over in West Bend. The main reason for these huge margins of victory was gerrymandering. It works by packing your opponent's supporters together in a few districts and then making the remaining districts in your state relatively more balanced, with just enough of your supporters in them to give you an advantage, with the hoped for result is that your party loses a few districts by huge margins, yet wins a majority of the districts comfortably. This type of redistricting is intended to maximize the election returns for the party in power. This type of redistricting has caused the composition of the Wisconsin legislature as of August 21 of this year in the Assembly to have 38 seats held by Democrats, 61 by Republicans, and in the Senate, 12 seats are Democrats and 21 seats are held by Republicans. Even though the outcome over the last 10 years on the general balloting in Wisconsin has been a lot closer than that, and in some cases, even the minority party, the Democrats, won the popular vote. This has a large implication for public policy in that the party that is dominant will be able to advance their own legislative agenda without the necessity of working across the aisle to implement public policy measures that are applicable to the entire state of Wisconsin for the benefit of all Wisconsinites. Why should they compromise with the minority party if they can win future elections by 20% or greater margins? Why should they attempt to dialogue and debate legitimate policy goals they both have with their opponents? The advantage will also apply at the federal level in Congress as well. We must come up with an alternative plan to have a nonpartisan independent commission draw the district lines in Wisconsin to implement the one person, one vote mandate in a more fair and equitable manner. This would require incumbents to pay attention to the constituents' needs and issues instead of their state political party. More competitive elections where the decision would be more hotly contested with viable candidates on both sides of the aisle will result in a more representative body in our state legislature and in Congress that can actually perhaps get some work done. Therefore, I urge you members of the Jefferson County Board to support this resolution and in your process of redistricting to end gerrymandering and institute a balanced and fair redistricting process. Thank you.
Leslie DeMuth.
Good evening. I'm Leslie DeMuth from Lake Mills, Wisconsin. I am part of an organization here in Jefferson County called Jefferson Fair Maps Coalition. And our objective is to have nonpartisan redistricting and end gerrymandering. Firstly, I want to thank you. A few years back, this county board passed a resolution calling for nonpartisan redistricting. And just last fall, you put on the ballot a referendum calling for nonpartisan redistricting, and I want to thank you for that, and it won, thankfully. I also want to thank you this evening for your efforts to make the redistricting process here in Jefferson County open and transparent for everybody to know about, not behind closed doors, and hearings for the public to speak out and give their view. I forgot to mention, but I want to say right now, all this summer, the Jefferson Fair Maps Coalition, along with county coalitions across the state have been working with municipalities and people in municipalities to create maps, their own redistricting, hundreds and hundreds of them that have been submitted to the People's Maps Commission at the state level. And very lastly, when you do make your maps and do your redistricting, I echo Kristen and Vasco and ask you to respect communities of interest, such as municipalities, school districts, and other things. So thank you so much for your attention.
Dan Russler?
A lot of you may have been able to see this, and I see a few raising your hands around the area. So there's some pictures on it that are interesting. I'm just going to talk about some of the main points, and these are kind of nuts and bolts issues. Of course, from a supervisor's point of view, the redistricting related to supervisors is critical here. Right now, our population estimates are showing that there is a range of about 800 people between the lowest and the highest, which represents, 20% variability, which is 10% too high according to the statute. So there's some work to be done. And if you notice on the populations, you can kind of identify the ones that have a few too many or a few too few at this time. And so those can expect probably the most changes during this redistricting time in order to get back to legal compliance. But there are some other nits that may not be able to be done in such a short time frame. And I also feel that you guys have a very short, this is a tough time to do redistricting when there's so many issues that need to be attended to in Jefferson County. In addition to the sizes, one thing for transparency, some recommendations are for transparency. One of the transparency issues is the state statutes apply, mention exceptions. You should follow this rule and follow this rule and follow this rule, but exceptions can be made. Unfortunately, some of the exceptions also require letters from the county to the municipalities explaining the exceptions. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any of those for exceptions that were made during the last redistricting process in terms of letters to municipalities from the county on the county website. So I think publishing a list of these exceptions and the rationale for these exceptions is something that the voters can expect in a transparent environment, if you would. So that's one of my suggestions. Again, there are also no policy documents from Jefferson County on the website in terms of Jefferson County policies related to redistricting. The clerks are pretty much left, as far as I can tell, with state broad abilities to apply state policies without any guidance at all from the supervisors of the county. So I think since they have so much discretion and the county depends on this correctly applied discretion to make it easy to balance these supervisory districts, it would make sense to actually put together policies. And that's one of the reasons I've recommended at the executive meeting that this redistricting committee should actually turn into a permanent committee, because it's going to take 10 years to actually get this work done properly before the next redistricting process comes up in 2030. So that's one point. Let's see. As was noted earlier, parent-teacher associations are communities of interest, and there's absolutely no relationship between these communities of interest and the districts for the local supervisors. Now, schools and county are our two biggest taxation groups in for us voters. And for them not to be talking makes it really difficult. So when a PTA has to go to many different county supervisors to address the issues of county versus school services to their children, that's a problem with voter representation. And so I think one of the things that this 10-year plan should include is better alignment between the school districts and the supervisory districts so that representation can work better for these communities of interest that are supported under state law, school districts, PTAs. A new issue that we have in Jefferson County is Hispanics. With the increased Hispanic populations in our cities, we also have, probably for the first time, the question of whether we have to pay attention to these Hispanic populations as part of federal law. So I'm not sure that we have a good understanding of where our Hispanic populations are located and if we're providing the same kind of support that federal law requires. So that really, again, the biggest issue is so that we don't get caught short next time. If we have a redistricting next time, a problem next time, like, and who knows what it might be. I think we really do need a redistricting committee to make sure that we have all our T's crossed long before we come to this crisis period. Thank you.
And Don Gross. Pardon? Okay. And Frankie Fuller.
Good evening. I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. And I think that in the past, the county has done a very good job on redistricting with what they had. And I would just like to ask that you look at more than just the facts. And I know that all of you care about the people of the county and the county itself, and that you allow that caring to show through. And I would like you to speak with your legislators so that they are very clear about the fact that we want a fair redistricting map when they are finished. Some voices to legislators have more power than others, and you folks carry a big stick. So I hope you'll use it for support. Thank you.
Thank you. Just so there's an understanding, the executive committee is a standing committee, and it has been. I've been on the board 23 years now. It's been a standing committee, so that continues to be there. Okay, that takes us to annual reports. Division of Extension, Chrissy Wen.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, and hello to you, those on that are joining us virtually. It's nice to see all of you. I'm Chrissy Wen, and I'm an Area Extension Director for the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Extension. And I serve Jefferson County, Walworth County, and Rock County, and currently Interim County with Racine and Kenosha counties as well. So I'm here tonight to talk about what's happening in Jefferson County. within the Extension Office. So UW-Madison Division of Extension is a proud partner and department of Jefferson County. As a statewide engagement arm of UW-Madison, the Division of Extension embodies the Wisconsin idea in every corner of the state. And that mission started in 1912 with the first agriculture educator that was going around farms on a bicycle, going to our farms to teach them and help them learn about what's happening on the farm. Our statewide network of educators and specialists are responding every day to emerging needs across Wisconsin, and we identify key opportunities to leverage local resources and leading research efforts to affect change and improve lives throughout our local programming. And as you'll hear me talk, extension is woven throughout the threads of Jefferson County and has been for a long time. On your handout today, it's a short report that we have put together over the past year. I'll be reflecting on a few of the educators that are on here and what they've been doing for the past year. Steve Shemileski is our community development educator. We share him with Waukesha County. He provides educational programming to assist leaders, communities, organizations to reach their fullest potential. He works with communities to build vitality that enhances their quality of life and enriches the lives of their residents. Steve and the group of network of community educators educate in leadership development, local government, organizational development, food systems, and much more. In short, the community development educator plants and cultivates seeds for thriving communities and organizations throughout Jefferson County. Steve is currently working and engaged in planning a Spanish-speaking Latina-focused community needs assessment in collaboration with community partners of Jefferson County. The goal of this effort is to strengthen connections with the Latino community, learn more about the current needs and opportunities to inform programming, and to assist school districts in learning more about sensitive issues. Our agriculture position right now is vacant. We are currently recruiting for a regional crop educator. This position will serve Jefferson and Rock County, and it will focus on crops. Another educator that we're going to be hiring very soon, I think it might have posted today actually while I was sitting here, is a regional dairy educator that will focus on dairy production within Jefferson County, Rock County, and Dane County. So there are regional positions, but very highly focused on what's happening within the area. And as we've had this vacancy, we'll continue to share the state and all the other programming that residents of Jefferson County have access to within agriculture, and we share those via our website and social media and other places like that. Our FoodWise education program is a federally funded program. This is a very low cost to the county, if any. We bring in over $100,000 through federal grants for this program. And FoodWise and the team advances healthy eating habits, active lifestyles, and healthy community environments for families with limited incomes throughout nutrition education. This is done through individuals, communities, sometimes with community partners, and advancing and just teaching those individuals about health. Again, Lisa and her team are currently working with Head Start here in Jefferson, and they're beginning to explore opportunities within the school districts that serve low-income students. 4-H, I know a lot of you hear of 4-H, and if you're not familiar, it means head, hands, heart, and health is what those 4-H's mean. And we have a really vibrant club or program here in Jefferson County. 4-H welcomes young people of all beliefs and backgrounds, and we are committed to providing safe opportunities for youth to learn skills like decision-making, problem-solving, caring for others, generosity, making healthy choices, and more. This year, they've completed hands-on projects by mailing a lot of stuff in the mail to our clubs and to our youth participants. They've been doing Club in a Box, which is just different activities to keep 4-H engaged as we were all stuck at home. They've done a tremendous job. On your photos here, you'll see that they've done some community cleanup efforts, and we had 4-H participate in some of the community events. That's what that horse is at. And then the Clover Bud in a Box program. This is just a youth that had sent in a picture from one of the events that they had done in their home with their family. So just showing that engagement continues. On the back here, I'll just show a picture of a young youth that was in a programming, and that was one of our first in-person programs that was there. So we captured a picture of one of our first. That was a poster and speech contest that was happening. So she was able to do that with a group of other 4-Hers. So in total, we have 25 community clubs in Jefferson County. We have over 260 volunteers within the 4-H program, and then we have over 500 youth that are participating in this program. So lots happening in 4-H, and it continues to evolve and grow within how we can outreach to more and more youth, especially our underserved youth that are within the county. In total, for volunteers within Extension, we have 293 volunteers within the 4-H program and the Master Gardener program. And they all serve the same mission as we do, of course, being university volunteers. We had over 9,000 hours devoted to Jefferson County in 2020 and 2021. Overall, in the past year, the extension educators that I've talked about and that are serving here, right here in the county, have served over 1,700 people through different programming. We've had 63 different programs in the past year, and we serve and we work with 20 community partners that we have just here in Jefferson County. So the resources that Extension provides the citizens of Jefferson County goes well beyond the annual contract that we have with the county. I'll just mention a few of those because I think it's important to realize that when the county and Extension can partner, we can provide more than what we sign off with on our contract every year. Jeremy Solon, who is another community educator, he did a 2-part virtual series for participants in the Local Government Leadership Academy, where they learned about emotional intelligence and relationship building. And this effort is designed to build skills for leading in local government. Our natural resource educator, Michelle Probst, who is actually pictured here second, helps individuals and communities throughout Wisconsin, well, actually the Rock River Basin, but she's connected with a lot of other folks, just coexist with Wisconsin's rich water resources, mineral resources, land resources, and forestry resources. She recently went through an action planning process for a producer-led group in Jefferson County to plan for upcoming year's activities that will promote the use of conservation practices to protect water quality within Jefferson County. Again, we're trying to find creative ways to get out to the agriculture community because of these vacancies. However, I will share, since I have some other colleagues of mine in the counties that I serve, we've been tapping into other educators to help answer questions that have come in through agriculture related and then horticulture related as well. So these are just a few of the statewide programs that we offer and the local programming that I wanted to talk about today and just share the breadth of what Extension brings to the county. I'm really excited to get the next couple ag positions hired in the next few months, and been working really closely with the counties to be able to do this in a way that makes sense and that is fair and equitable for all of us. That's all I have for today. If there's any questions, you're happy to answer them now, or you can also reach out to me at any time.
Any questions for Chrissy? Questions? Comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have Land and Water Conservation, Patricia Cicero.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Patricia Cicero. I'm the director of the Land and Water Conservation Department. Last month, you received our written annual report, and so you have that. I'm just going to share with you some highlights. And as Chrissy just said, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Please come see me at my office or give me a call. I'd be delighted to talk to you about anything we're doing in our office. So the overall goal of the Land and Water Conservation Department is to restore, improve, and protect the land and water resources of Jefferson County. And we do that mostly through a plan that we develop. We just updated our most recent plan, the Land and Water Resources Management Plan. We update that every 10 years. And that sets forth our goals and objectives and our work plan for the office. And that is on our website if you want more information about that. So, of course, the majority of the work that we do is done by the great staff, so I just wanted to introduce them to you. Marissa Ullman is our most recent hire this year. She's our Water Resources Management Specialist. Kim Lykopoulos is our Administrative Specialist. She's been with us for 8 years. Joe Strupp is a Resource Conservationist who's been with us for 15 years. Jerry Kokkonen is the GIS and Land Use Specialist who's been with us for 18 years, and I have been here in Jefferson County for 22. We also have another resource conservationist, Nancy Lannert, who last week she retired. She was with us for 19 and a half years. Prior to working in Jefferson County, she worked in Rock County. And so in total, she spent more than 34 years working on conservation. So she has a well-deserved retirement ahead of her. So with her retirement, I just want to let you know we are in the process of hiring somebody to replace Nancy's position. So one of our main programs is the Farmland Preservation Program, and that is a program that provides tax credits to farms for following certain standards that protect land and water resources. There's approximately 615 participants throughout the county that encompasses over 100,000 acres. And this program has enabled these participants in total to claim more than $800,000 worth of tax credits. So it's a very important program. We also implement 3 different cost-sharing programs to help implement practices that protect our soil and water resources. We got a lot of money from the Department of Agriculture to install mostly agricultural conservation practices. We also received some money from the Department of Natural Resources to install small projects such as rain gardens and native shoreline gardens that work to reduce pollution getting to our lakes and rivers. And new this year, we have some municipal and industrial sources of funding from the Rock River Basin that we're implementing a new cover crop and pasture establishment cost share program. So we're really happy that we're able to share those practices with producers. Another program that we implement in our office is the Agricultural Conservation Easement program. One of the updates we have for this last year is we were able to forge a partnership with the American Farmland Trust, and that has resulted in some federal money that's coming toward us that we're going to, in the next 5 years, put toward acquiring more conservation easements to protect farmland in our county. Our office has a number of mapping and geographic information services, and those services are provided to landowners, to partners throughout the county, other departments, and of course our office. And we have seen in the last couple of years an expanded role of Jerry in our office because he's taking on some of the work that was previously done by the Land Information Director in the past. We also work a lot specifically on a number of water resource programs. So we provide technical assistance to landowners and water resource groups, local governments, and other county departments. This year, we have an expanded role to increase the work that we do on aquatic invasive species, and that's thanks to a grant from the Department of Natural Resources for about $13,000. That's going to offset the staff time, and we that money is going to now be available to us every year going forward. Marissa, as I said, is the new water resources person, and with her expertise, just one of the highlights that she has done just in the few months that she's been here is she has some expertise on terrestrial invasive species, and she has been providing identification and management expertise to the highway department as they do their work controlling invasive terrestrial species in our right-of-ways. And because right now all the department heads have been working very diligently on our budgets, one of the things I want to just highlight right now is that our office gets a fair amount of money from the Department of Agriculture every year that goes toward offsetting our staffing costs. And because of some changes in the state budget process, I'm happy to report that for next year, we're going to get an increase in that funding. So if we're comparing it to what we're getting this year, it's more than $31,000 increase that we're going to get from the Department of Agriculture. So we're really happy about that. So with that, I would entertain any questions you would have.
Questions from Ms. Cicero? Questions? Comments? Thank you very much, Patricia. Our next report would be the Clerk of Courts, but that will be postponed due to a family emergency, so we will reschedule that. Takes us to item 11. County Administrator, resolution accepting bid for installation of storage building at the law enforcement training facility.
Resolution number 2021-18, thank you. So I apologize to the Building and Grounds Committee. As first up, before I introduce this, is we just missed this on the agenda, but we did present it to the Buildings and Grounds Committee to review the sealed bids process. So I do not like to bring this forward from me directly in this case. Resolution number 2021-18, accepting bid for installation of storage building at the law enforcement training facility. Executive summary: Jefferson County owns and operates a law enforcement training center in Lake Mills located off County Highway V. Currently, the property is used for firearm qualification for the Sheriff's Office and a partner law enforcement agencies. To facilitate additional training opportunities at this location, a storage building was built in 2020. The next phase of the plan work requires insulating the storage building. A request proposal was issued in March 3rd, 2021. 2 sealed bids were received. The Building and Grounds Committee was provided these bids at its meeting on August 3rd, 2021. Advised by County Administrator that the bid submitted by Boss Design Builders in the amount of $25,585.61 was the lowest responsible bidder. And you see the other bid below. Now therefore be resolved that the bid of Boss Design Builders of Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, the amount of $25,585.61 is hereby accepted as the lowest responsible bid, and the county administrator is authorized to enter into a contract with Boss Design Builders for this amount to install insulation liner panners in the storage building at the law enforcement training facility. Fiscal note: adequate funds for this project are in the Sheriff's Office budget account 13105.594822. I respectfully request this to be moved forward.
So, motion by Mr. Morris, second by Mr. Schultz. Questions, discussion? Laura, have anything to add, or you?
No, we discussed it at the Buildings and Grounds Committee. It just wasn't able to get on the agenda fast enough after Ben received the closed bids. But all of us were in agreement that Boss Design has been partners with us for other projects, and we feel that they would do a great job with this. So I hope everyone will approve it.
Thank you, Supervisor Payne. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Sorry, I got to remember to delay for people on Zoom. Thank you. Okay, it passes. Takes us to item 12, Executive Committee, resolution designating the Executive Committee as the Jefferson County Redistricting Committee for the 2021 redistricting process. Supervisor Renard.
Resolution number 2021-19. Following the release of census data every 10 years, each level of government has the requirement to utilize data to review its population changes and adjust boundaries of representative districts to be consistent with the one man or one woman, one vote principle. In Wisconsin, there are specific statutory requirements on how this process is implemented, with counties having a significant role in this process. This includes the following: development of a tentative plan followed by a public hearing and approval by the county board. Notice to municipalities, cities, villages, and towns of the tentative plan for adjusting municipal boundaries where applicable. Issuance of a final plan followed by a public hearing and approval by the county board. Publication of a Type A notice notifying the public of the adjusted district boundaries for purposes of issuing election papers. In a typical year following the census data can be expected from the federal government in March or April, and the statutory time period for the county to approve a final redistricting plan is approximately 180 days following the receipt of the census data. However, the census data has not been released by the federal government to date, and the state is not expected to receive the data until mid-August. Wisconsin counties expect to receive the data from the state no later than September 1st, 2021. Because the census data was not provided to local communities in March or April, counties are unable to meet their statutory requirement to complete the tentative plan by July 1. Further, local governments have a statutory obligation to publish as a Type A notice their final redistricting plan by November 23rd. As such, the county must have a final plan approved prior to this date, effectively reducing the typical 180-day process to approximately 75 days. The state has not provided any alternative options for counties or municipalities to account for the delayed release of census data by the federal government. The Executive Committee has been involved in routine reports and updates as to the status of redistricting to include the data release date and potential legislation to address the delayed data release. In reviewing past practices of Jefferson County, the Executive Committee and its precursor committees provided policy oversight and direction for the redistricting process. Staff support of these efforts included the county clerk, county administrator, corporation counsel, planning and zoning, and land information. Designating the Executive Committee to serve as the Redistricting Committee is consistent with its duties set forth in the County Board Rules of Order, which state, quote, "The Executive Committee is authorized to petition the Jefferson County Circuit Court for an order dividing a municipality into wards in accordance with applicable law and the county's tentative supervisory district plan upon a municipality's failure to divide or submission of a division which does not comply with the tentative supervisory district plan." The Executive Committee considered this resolution at its meeting on July 28th, 2021, and recommended forwarding to the County Board to formally designate the Executive Committee as the Jefferson County Redistricting Committee for purposes of providing policy guidance and oversight for the county's redistricting process for 2021. Whereas the above executive summary is incorporated into this resolution, whereas the local redistricting process is one that demands transparency and opportunities for public input, and whereas the county and its municipalities will need to work collaboratively to develop a redistricting process that accelerates these efforts to develop plans while valuing the public input process and openness of redistricting. And whereas the Executive Committee has been engaged in the current process for the last several months and has specific redistricting responsibilities already delegated to it by the County Board rules. Now therefore be it resolved that the County Board designates the Executive Committee as the Jefferson County Redistricting Committee for the 2021 redistricting process. Fiscal note, this resolution will have no fiscal impact. I move approval of this resolution.
Second by Supervisor Morris. Questions? Supervisor Phils.
Not so much a question as a comment. We've heard a lot about redistricting. I was on this board 10 years ago, the last time we redistricted. What has gone on in the state is downright disgusting in terms of gerrymandering, but that does not reflect on the way the county has behaved itself. Basically, I've told people we've taken all the information, necessary information, fed it into a computer, and the computer went, "Brr, here are your districts." We've had to tweak it a little bit occasionally where maybe a small part of a town was chopped off or something like that. But beyond that, we did not sit there and go, well, let's see, we don't want Supervisor Schultz and Supervisor Christensen in the same district to have to run, so let's change. We don't do that. In fact, if we did that, everybody would hope that Supervisor Christian would knock me off. But that's not the kind of thing we do at this level. I think that this addresses the fact that our backs are against the wall and we need to proceed. I think the executive committee is the right committee to do it. And once again, just a reminder, basically what they're going to do is put it in a computer. The computer's going to say boom. And other than some adjustments, that minor ones, we're not going to be playing the same games they do at the state.
Anyone else? Any other questions or comments? Supervisor Morris.
I underscore that previous statement, and then also want to bring to everybody's mind that our administrator used the word catacomb, and I thought that was well chosen because that's essentially what our districts do when it comes to the municipalities, which really are the first level of control of what they need to look like. I recognize, just as Supervisor Schultz said, sometimes we make adjustments as they relate to us, but catacomb is an important principle and also is expedient for the municipalities.
Other questions and comments? Anything? Seeing none? All in favor of Resolution 19, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Hearing none. It is passed. Finance Committee. Supervisor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution number 2021-20. Initial resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds or promissory notes in the amount not to exceed $36 million for county building projects. On June 8, 2021, the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors adopted a resolution recognizing the need to renovate the courthouse, sheriff's office, jail facility, highway facilities, and infrastructure related to health and human services operations. The resolution further indicated that funding for this project would require the issuance of debt by the county, requiring additional action by a county board at a future date. This resolution carries out the next step towards funding these renovation projects by authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds or promissory notes in the amount not to exceed $36 million. Following adoption of this initial resolution, future county board action will need to be taken, specifically authorizing the sale of general obligation bonds or promissory notes in increments. On August 5th, 2021, the Jefferson County Finance Committee considered this resolution and recommended forwarding to the county board to authorize the issuance of general obligation bonds or promissory notes in the amount not to exceed $36 million for the public purpose of paying the cost of renovating county facilities consisting of the construction of additions and improvements to the courthouse, sheriff's office, and jails facilities, and other public facilities related to county operations, along with acquisition of furnishings and equipment. Fiscal note. The debt authorized by this resolution will be issued by the county through the sale of general obligation bonds or promissory notes in increments that require authorization by future county board action. As an initial resolution authorizing debt issuance, state law requires county board approval by a 3/4 vote of the entire membership of the county board, or 23 votes of the 30-member county board. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Do I have a second? Several seconds. Discussion? Questions? Been over this quite a bit, so I don't expect a lot of questions anymore. Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Supervisor David,
No.
Supervisor Paulson, Supervisor Schultz,
Aye.
Supervisor Roberts.
Aye.
We have 26 yes, 1 no, and 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution passes. Item B, Supervisor Schultz.
Or Jones.
Oh, excuse me, Supervisor Schultz Jones.
He's not that good looking.
They're interchangeable. Resolution number 2021-21, issue general obligation promissory note series 2021A in the amount not to exceed $5,830,000 for county building project. On June 8, 2021, the County Board of Supervisors adopted initial resolution 2021-10, recognizing the need to renovate the courthouse, sheriff's office, and jail facilities, highway facilities, and infrastructure related to human and Health and Human Service operations. This initial resolution further indicated that funding for these projects would require the issuance of debt by the county, requiring additional action by the county board at a future date. This resolution carries out the next steps towards funding these renovation projects by issuing general obligation promissory notes in the amount not to exceed $5,830,000 for public sale pursuant to initial resolution 2021-20, the one we just passed. On August 5th, 2021, the Jefferson County Finance Committee considered this resolution and recommended forwarding to the County Board to issue general obligation promissory notes in the amount not to exceed $5,830,000 for the public purpose of paying the cost of renovating county facilities consisting of the construction of additions and improvements to the courthouse, sheriff's office, and jail facilities and other public facilities related to county operations, along with acquisition of related furnishings and equipment. Fiscal note. The debt authorized by this resolution will be issued by the county through the sale of general obligation promissory notes in the amount not to exceed $5,830,000. Because an initial resolution authorized debt issuance was previously adopted by the county board, this resolution requires county board approval by a majority of county board members present. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Do I have a second? Second. Plenty of seconds out there. Okay, thank you. Discussion, questions? Mr. Waymire.
So, Mr. Chair, what I'm providing on the screen tonight is kind of a recommendation of how we got to this point. Our financial advisor is here to talk through this. If you would like that before answering questions about why this amount was picked and got to, and what was reviewed with the Finance Committee, if that seems appropriate by the chair.
Sure.
So if you could go.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Joe Murray from Ellers, proud to be the county's financial advisor. As the administrator said last week at the Finance Committee, we presented a financing plan for all the debt issue associated with the construction and renovation of the courthouse and the sheriff's office, etc. I believe you all received a copy of our pre-sale report that went to the Finance Committee. That does include the full plan. The goal for this plan was to try to have the tax increase be a one-time increase in 2022 and then try to remain level throughout the entire issuance of 4 issues. The plan includes issuing $5,830,000 this year to start. There was a question at the Finance Committee, why are we only issuing $5.8 million and not doing the limit of 10 to still qualify as being bank qualified? We considered that, but you are not looking to start construction and really needing the money for approximately a year from now. We didn't think it would be in the county's best interest to borrow more money and sit on it for a longer period of time as opposed to borrowing it when you need it. So the goal is to do a smaller borrowing right now and then do 3 $10 million bank qualified issues moving forward in the future. The overall goal, as I said, has the borrowing broken into these 4 issues. We will plan on going to get a credit rating. The county has a very strong credit rating of AA2, which helps you receive a low credit rate, low interest rates. reason we're doing this as planned right now on the 4 issues is to maintain bank qualification. That means you can issue up to $10 million of tax exempt money in a calendar year. Bank qualification means that banks can bid and get some tax relief, tax credits for bidding on the county's debt. That means you've got a larger bidding pool. Larger bidding pool means you get lower interest rates, more competition. So that's the goal. If things change and the county's cash flow needs accelerate from what we've anticipated, we could look to be borrowing more and do this in fewer issues. Or if the bank qualification amount goes up, as it has in the past, to 30 million, we might come back with another plan. But as I said, the plan is to maintain all these issues as being bank qualified. What that means is right now in the current market, the difference between being bank qualified and non-bank qualified is 25 basis points, or 0.25% on the long end. So based on the larger issues and the longer term that we'd be looking at, it could have a large tax impact. Right now, as I said, we're projecting that the county will receive a true interest cost of 1.58%, which I think is conservative. I'm very optimistic and hopeful we'll be able to beat that when I'm back before you in October. The increase on the 22 budget for debt service would be a 24-cent increase to the tax levy. That impact on a $250,000 equalized value home would be an increase of just over $64. The total cost for the financing plan for this renovations to this building to that same $250,000 equalized value home is projected to be at $1,225. That's total principal and interest over the entire term of all the borrowings. On the screen is the financing plan. It shows the 5.83 million, and this year 10 million being issued again in 2022, 10 million being issued in 2023, and the final 10 million in 2024. We will, as I said, right now they're just plugged in as needing the money in October. Once the construction contracts are bid and then we have a better idea as to when the money will actually be needed, we may be changing dates, but the goal would always be to have these sales in the fall, no later than the fall of that year, so that you can make sure it's included in your tax levy and the budget for that coming year. If you go to the blue column all the way over on the right, you'll see what's the tax rate impact. That's for the blue column is for current existing debt and for the new debt associated with this building, and you'll see how it works. And if you go all the way over to the far right-hand column, that's where you'll see that $1,225 for the debt associated with this building project. That's, again, the total principal and interest for all the issues. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions? Mr. Waymire.
Just a couple quick notes, I'm sorry. So the first thing is there's a potential for this rate to drop a little bit more from mill rate, and it's maybe because our EAV. We have received preliminary numbers, not final numbers for our EAV, and it's we're up over 8.1 billion already, give or take a little bit right now. So that will mathematically change that mill rate a little bit. The other thing that's not calculated yet in future years is we are expecting some of our larger tax increment finance districts will be expiring here shortly, most specifically in Johnson Creek and in Whitewater. That roughly has a value-based add of about $130 million, give or take a little bit from what we're tracking. So that'll be in future years. So that's one more thing that'll take place. The last thing I just want to, what Joe has developed here that is helpful for us is that last issuance in 2024 potentially is we true up the final cost of the project, so we may not have to issue that full amount. The other thing, it gives us the flexibility as we work through the American Rescue Plan Act dollars and potentially see if some of those dollars might be able to use in this project. Again, that can maybe potentially lower that rate on that last bond issuance. So something that we're, as part of the plan plus, is working on with Eller. So thank you for that chance to clarify that.
Any other questions? Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering, what is the bond rate that the county is paying on these bonds? What rate is it at?
The projected true interest cost on these is at 1.58%.
Okay, going back to the 5.8 million this year instead of 10 million, then how can it be cheaper over 23 years if we're expecting to have a 0.5% increase and then a 0.25% increase? The difference between borrowing that other 4 million now, even if we don't spend it till next year, versus borrowing it in 3 years when we pay the extra 3/4. You know, to me, it's going to be much cheaper to borrow the money and sit on it for a year than it would be to pay 0.75% interest for 23 years.
But you'll actually be sitting on the money for longer than a year. You're not looking to begin construction, my understanding is, to late spring of 2022. You'll have this $5.8 million to pay for the initial project costs. I don't anticipate you'll need to start having really your big money for construction rolling in for longer than a year from now, unless somebody can speak differently about timing. So you'd be paying all that interest on money that you're sitting on that's going to be higher than anything you. Right now, the money, as was discussed at the Finance Committee, would probably be invested in the local government investment pool, which is paying 0.06%. So you're paying the difference. There's over 1.5% right there. So that was the consideration we had.
Mr. DeVries, want to add to that?
No, I think Joe made the point that I was going to make, is that currently in LGIP we're only making 6 basis points. When you compare that to the interest rate that we're projecting of 1.58, that's a pretty large spread, and it doesn't make sense to borrow more money than we need right now. It makes more sense to match our borrowings with the cash flow needs of the county.
Supervisor Brogler.
My question is not for Mr. Murray, but probably for Blair. This resolution says of the members present, usually with the volume, we're members of the total body.
If I could answer that.
That's not you.
The 3/4 vote was required on the authorizing resolution, the one I acted on the first time. So that was the one that required the 3/4 vote. All the subsequent borrowings will only require a majority of a quorum at the meetings, unless you have a county policy or rule. But from a statutory standpoint, you do not require a 3/4 vote on this issue.
Are you referring to the resolution that the county board is currently considering, or the previous one that had to have? Yeah, that the fiscal note says this resolution requires county board approval by a majority of county board members present, and that's the standard practice for approving resolutions that don't require any special type of majority, like a 2/3 or 3/4. That's a typical quorum. You have a quorum to do business, and then a majority of the quorum is sufficient to pass a resolution.
If you didn't have the 3/4 vote on the first issue, you would require it on this one, but you did it with the first one covering the entire financing.
Other questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Great, David has a question.
Oh, Supervisor David.
Thank you. I wanted to make a comment. I think this is the wrong time to subject the taxpayer to a tax increase like this, and that this is for a project that is designed to meet projected needs in a time of crisis and great change. I don't think we're designing for the right thing, and I don't think it's the right time to do this. I'll be voting no for this.
Any other questions or comments? We will take a roll call vote.
Supervisor David? I vote no. Supervisor Paulson?
Aye.
Supervisor Roberts?
Aye.
We have 26 yes, 1 no, and 3 absent.
Resolution passes. Thank you. Resolution C, establishing Jefferson County Revolving Loan Fund. Supervisor Jones.
Resolution number 2021-22, establishing the Jefferson County Revolving Loan Fund. Jefferson County has evaluated opportunities to provide programs that assist existing business. I'm sorry, I'm reading off the yellow sheet that was handed out on your desk. that assists existing businesses by providing them with the ability to expand, enhance business productivity, improve operational efficiency, along with the ability to compete in a global market, and to assist business in relocating to Jefferson County. For several years, the county and its municipalities relied on a community development block grants to fund a revolving loan fund program. Over the past few years, the county has begun to develop a plan in anticipation of the former Community Development Block Grant Revolving Loan Fund program dissolving, while recognizing the need to create a local incentive program to attract and retain business in Jefferson County. The need to continue a local incentive program such as the Revolving Loan Fund program has been noted in several planning documents to include the Jefferson County Strategic Plan, the Jefferson County Comprehensive Plan, and the Thrive Ed Jefferson County Economic Development Consortium Strategic Plan. Through its budgeting process over the past 2 years, Jefferson County has taken action to commit $500,000 towards this program. In addition, the remaining funds from the dissolved Community Development Block Grant Loan Program has been designated to fund this new program. Staff have identified 5 financial institutions that are willing to partner with the county and match county contributions to establish a $1 million fund. Each lending partner has agreed to provide an initial contribution of $100,000 as a line of credit to the county for the Revolving Loan Fund program. Program funding may increase based on contributions from additional partners as this program continues. The initial lending entities will include Exonia Bank, Exonia, Premier Bank, Fort Atkinson, Bank First, Watertown, Fort Community Credit Union, Fort Atkinson, and Avestar Credit Union, Waterloo. The goal of the Revolving Loan Fund program is to provide easily accessible gap financing to legally operate businesses within Jefferson County and its municipalities to support business growth by 1. Encouraging investments that enhance business productivity or operational efficiency. 2. Support the investments that enhance business' ability to compete in the global marketplace. And 3. Encouraging investments that are necessary to retain or create jobs that pay at least the Jefferson County average annual wage. The Revolving Loan Fund will have flexibility in the amount of loan based upon the quality of the project as presented. However, the intent is to provide gap financing of up to 25% of the total project costs, or not to exceed $275,000 per loan. The minimum loan considered by the fund will be $25,000. As part of this program, the Finance Committee will receive an ongoing reports on loan status and will also provide oversight on any policy change related to the lending guidelines. County staff will be engaged based upon their related functions. The Jefferson County Economic Development Consortium staff will provide technical support of the application process. The Finance Department will be responsible for the fiscal administration to include development of an amortization schedule, payment receipts, required fiscal reporting, auditing, and disclosure requirements in coordination with financial institution of payments. The Corporation Counsel Office will provide legal advice, file documents under the Uniform Commercial Code to secure loans, and take legal action upon default. The Revolving Loan Fund program will be governed by a board which will consist of 1 representative from each lending institution, the Jefferson County Finance Chair or designee, Jefferson County Administrator, Jefferson County Corporation Counsel, and Jefferson County Finance Director. This governing body will be responsible for policy recommendation to the Finance Committee and provide appointee updates to the Finance Committee. Further, an Underwriting Committee will be appointed, which will consist of 2 appointees from lending institutions, the Finance Committee Chair or designee, a representative of a small business, and an independent underwriter hired by the county. The Underwriting Committee will have approval authority for loans. The Governing Board and Underwriting Committee shall consist with the Corporation Counsel Office as needed to ensure compliance with Wisconsin open meeting laws and public record laws. The Jefferson County Finance Committee met on April 8th, June 8th, and July 8th, 2021 to discuss the parameters of the proposed loan fund program to include reviewing the lending guidelines and the administration of the fund. The Finance Committee considered this resolution at its meeting on August 5th, 2021 and unanimously recommended forwarding to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note, Jefferson County has budgeted $500,000 towards development of a revolving loan fund. An additional $354,761 of loan proceeds from the former Community Development Block Program has also been committed to the revolving loan fund. Adopting this resolution authorizes the county administrator to enter into agreements with various local financial institutions for line of credit to match county funds. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Do I have a second? Second by Supervisor Jaco. Discussion, questions? Supervisor David, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. I was wondering, who then will be administering the grant specifically and choosing the candidates? Will there be criteria that chooses the candidates that get these loans so that we know they are being objectively given and not, like, for instance, will the books be open for these things so that anyone can come and look at the financial records and things of that nature?
Are you talking about the transaction itself or the financial records of the business itself, Supervisor David?
I'm talking about with the loans being loaned out from the block grant, who's going to be selecting those people that receive the loans and then administering those grant loans, and then who monitors that, and will those books be open to the public?
So the lending guidelines outline the parameters of what is eligible, just like the CDBG Revolving Loan Fund Program provided, and very similar in nature of providing gap financing. The underwriting group will review that for the risk management in terms of assuring they meet those requirements and develop a term sheet related to that. In terms of ongoing oversight, a big part of that is in the finance department specifically. This is what they did for CDBG as well. This includes the development of amortization schedules, tracking and ensure online time payments. We will have disclosure requirements to the public as well as part of this process, and the bond market as part of that process. And then the Corporation Council, as part of that process, will also have to do specific UCC filings, they're called. It's basically putting ourselves in line as a creditor or lender to these entities. Second or third in line, most likely, is probably how it will develop. And as in past practice, if someone does not meet those payment obligations, then the Corporation Council would file action against that. And those reports then would go back to the Finance Committee as well as Supervisor David.
Does that answer your question, Supervisor David?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Any other question? Supervisor Smith?
Who would a business in my district contact if they were interested in one of these loans?
It'll go through the Jefferson County Economic Development Consortium, JCEDC, through Vicky Pratt's direction. They are prepping it. Once this is all finalized, we will be having a release to help coordinate how that will flow, so we can have folks who are interested to reach back out so we can move these dollars forward and effectuate to use.
Any other questions, comments? Take a roll call vote.
Supervisor David? Aye. Supervisor Paulson? Aye. Supervisor Roberts? Aye. Supervisor Lund? Supervisor Lund? We have 26 yes, and I guess technically 4 absent.
Thank you. It passes. Next resolution, D. I just apologize to all of you here. I had a football practice all afternoon here. I was soaking wet and I'm getting cramps here, so that's why I have to stand up and stretch now and then. So I'm sorry. Supervisor Jones, I got to go get a drink of water.
Resolution number 2021-23, ratifying the purchase and sale agreement for 808 Jefferson Street and 300 Rogers Street, Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, and the allocation of American Rescue Plan Act funds. Access to housing has been cited through numerous studies and planning exercises as a need in Jefferson County. This goal has been noted in an area of key emphasis in the county's strategic plan and comprehensive plan. Over the years, the team at Human Services has worked with clients to make housing available to those in need. In some cases, the county has specific obligation to provide housing services, which at times involves a court-ordered placement. This results in significant costs to the county. On May 1, 2018, the Jefferson County Department of Human Services began a partnership with Opportunities Inc. to lease 2 triplex properties. The county pays a fixed monthly rent for the properties in addition to utilities. The county manages the tenants and based on a tenant's ability to pay rent may required to reimburse the county for some or all of their rent along with the cost of utilities. This partnership also facilitates ongoing efforts between the county and Opportunities Incorporated to provide additional services, specifically employment opportunities. On July of 2021, the county was notified that Opportunities Incorporated was seeking to sell these properties through a sealed bid process. Due to the short notice and after consultation with the chair of the county board, the chair of finance committee, human service board, the county administrator submitted a purchase and sale agreement offering to purchase the property, which was subsequently accepted by the seller. This offer was contingent on a county board approval. The Human Service Board met on July 13, 2021, where it was provided an update on county housing. There was support for the county to purchase these properties to help ensure the adequate supply of county-provided housing. On July 28th, the Executive Committee reviewed this resolution and recommended unanimously to forward to the County Board to ratify the purchase and sale agreements and future to allocate $350,000 from the American Rescue Plan Act funds for this purchase. On August 5, 2021, the Finance Committee also considered this resolution and recommended unanimously to forward to County Board for approval. Fiscal note, the project is intended to primarily serve beneficiaries that are at less than 60% of the median income for Jefferson County or individuals that are below the federal poverty line. Jefferson County will fund this purchase with the American Rescue Plan Act funds and also may recover funds by tenant payments and maybe see reduced expenditures by limiting placement costs in more costly facilities. This is a budget adjustment. County Board approval requires a 2/3 vote of the entire membership of the County Board, 20 votes of the 30-member County Board. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Schultz. Questions? Discussion? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Supervisor David? Aye. Supervisor Paulson?
Aye.
Supervisor Roberts?
Aye.
Supervisor Martin?
Aye.
26 yes, 0 no, 4 absent.
Thank you. The motion passes. Supervisor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution number 2021-24, amending the 2021 Health Department budget to adjust the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection, or DACAP, food licensing fee and to accept the Drug-Free Coalition State Opiate Response Grant. The Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection recently updated Wisconsin Food Code regulated by the Wisconsin Administration Code ATCP 75. The Food Code consolidates food license into categories based on specific criteria which are set forth in the Watertown, Jefferson County Environmental Health Consortium fee schedule that's also on your desk. The Watertown, Jefferson County Environmental Health Consortium seeks to adopt these changes and incorporate them into the fee schedule. The Jefferson County Health Department has been awarded grant funds to support the efforts of Jefferson County Drug-Free Coalition to prevent prescription opioid misuse. The total grant award is $6,806.80, and the Health Department is requesting that these grant funds be accepted by Jefferson County. Funding will be used to support safe medication disposal through permanent drop boxes and drug take-back events, along with public education campaigns to increase awareness about the misuse of prescription opioids and the dangers of improper storage of prescription opioids. This resolution amends the 2021 Jefferson County Health Department budget to adjust the Environmental Health Consortium fee schedule in accordance with the changes in ATCP 75 and accept the grant funding from the Drug-Free Community Support Program grant in the amount of $6,806.80. The Finance Committee considered this resolution August 5, 2021 and recommended forward to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note, this is a budget amendment. County Board approval requires a 2/3 vote of entire membership of the County Board, 20 votes of the 30-member County Board. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Jekyll. Questions, discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Supervisor David? Aye. Supervisor Paulson? Aye. Supervisor Roberts?
Aye.
We have 26 yes, 0 no, 4 absent.
Thank you. The resolution passes. Leads us to item 14, Parks Committee. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have Resolution 2021-25, authorizing an extension of the licensing agreement between Wisconsin Electric Power Company, doing business as We Energies, and Jefferson County for the purpose of constructing Phase 2 of the Interurban Trail from Watertown to Oconomowoc. Executive summary, the Jefferson County Parks Department is planning to construct a recreational trail for hiking, biking, and cross-country skiing on right-of-way owned by We Energies. The proposed trail is 10.96 miles in length and is located between the city of Watertown and the city of Oconomowoc. This off-road paved trail connection will be built on the former interurban rail line that connects the city of Watertown and the city of Oconomowoc. The path cross-section will consist of a 10-foot wide asphalt surface with 2-foot wide aggregate shoulders. An 8-inch stone base with 3-inch asphalt layer will be used. The project is located primarily in Jefferson County and a portion in Waukesha County. The city of Watertown and the city of Oconomowoc are the project boundaries. On February 10, 2015, the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors approved Resolution 2014-65 that authorized the initial 15-year licensing agreement with We Energies. This provided the necessary authority for the county to proceed forward with Phase 1 of the project from the city of Watertown to River Road. This phase of the project included the installation of a bridge, safety fencing, and initial grading with an asphalt milling overlay in preparation for future asphalt surface. Jefferson County has completed Phase 1 and continues to work on Phase 2 of this project, which runs from River Road to County Highway F. The county has been successful in receiving grant funds to help cover the cost of this phase, to include a federal TAP grant and a DNR stewardship grant. The county has been in the engineering phase over the past 18 months, and it is anticipated that funds will be solicited for Phase 2 of this project during the first quarter of 2022. To ensure that the terms of the license agreement continue throughout the expected life of the trail infrastructure, We Energies has agreed to extend the duration of the license
by an additional 15 years ending in 2045. All other terms of the initial license agreement remain unchanged. This resolution authorizes the county administrator to sign license extension with We Energies, which will extend the license for an additional 15 years, and also authorize the county administrator to execute future license extensions for the Interurban Trail Project that are consistent with the base license agreement approved through the County Board Resolution 2014-65. The Parks Committee considered this resolution at its meeting on August 9, 2021, and recommended forwarding to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note, entering into this license agreement with We Energies will have no fiscal impact to Jefferson County. Mr. Chair, I move for adoption of this resolution.
Second. Oh,
Okay.
excuse me.
Questions?
Sorry.
Supervisor Morris, did you have your hand up or is that a second?
I was seconding.
Oh, okay.
Let the record show that I was overruled.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, resolution passes. Planning and Zoning Committee, Supervisor Jekyll.
Thank you. Report to the honorable members of Jefferson County Board of Supervisors. Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee, having considered petitions to amend the official zoning map of Jefferson County, filed for public hearing held on July 15, 2021, as required by law pursuant to Wisconsin statutes. Notice thereof having been given and being duly advised by the wishes of the town boards and persons in the areas affected, hereby makes the following recommendations. Approval of petitions as listed, dated this 26th day of July 2021, Blaine Paulson, Secretary. And that moves on to the ordinance number 2021-7, amending Jefferson County zoning map to amend it as printed. I move for adoption of this ordinance.
Second by Supervisor Paulson. Questions? Supervisor Kennard.
I will abstain for a potential conflict of interest.
So do noted. Any other questions, discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, passes. Public comment of a general nature. I have none listed here. So that takes us to announcements. I'd like, just a reminder, next county board meeting, Tuesday, September 14th at 7 p.m. Also, please get on your calendar, the November 16th county board meeting, reserve that evening for the redistricting meeting. Also, Brew with a View is Thursday, August 19th at 4:30, correct? Anything? Mr. Waymeyer.
So I have two announcements. So you heard it, one of our department heads tonight talk about the budget process our staff is going through right now and having great conversations with me. But I want to give you a heads up as a reminder, we presented this early on as our budget calendar, is the week of September 13th. We'll be introducing and holding hearings in front of the Finance Committee on the proposed budget. We're still finalizing the schedule in terms of when departments will go, but it'll be on September 13th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. Plan on those meetings starting about 8:30, and most days they go at least 4 hours. The first day, from a reference standpoint, is typically we give an overview of where we're at, some of the high-level things that are going on, some economic conditions, and then the last day is when we officially finalize the tax levy portion of it too in the final budget overall. So the one thing the Finance Committee might tell you, and those who have been involved, it's a great way to understand what's going on in the county as a whole. You get to hear a lot of the things that departments are working through, barriers, opportunities, those kind of things. So if you have a chance and you want to participate, we'll get the schedule here hopefully soon as we finalize conflicts with our staff and move forward. Then the last thing, I guess kind of want to reflect on the last few weeks and what our communities have gone through. And tonight was just another example when we had a large fire down in Fort Atkinson. We've seen some really severe weather. We had an unfortunate tragedy in Rome a few weeks ago. But you look at what our first responders, from law enforcement, EMS, fire, to our emergency management, but also really to focus on our communities. And I think at Concord, when I think of this specifically, what happened with Supervisor Zastro's house and many of his neighbors, but also Concord Center. It was pretty well decimated by it, and I still remember the email I got Friday night from the town chair who goes, "Our kids are playing softball tonight." The community came out, made sure they had what they needed so the kids could get back to playing their sports within 24 hours. Tonight, Sheriff and Donna were out there logging water, but guess what happened? Members of the community came out with water. Restaurants came out with food for the first responders. Those are things to celebrate and what the communities make known for in this area. So just reflect on what's going on. Be proud of what those folks do for us on a daily basis. Be proud of the communities that we're all part of what makes the fabric of this organization and this county. I just want to kind of highlight that because for some of our groups it's been tough, and some of the employees it's been tough, and for some of our property owners it's been tough, but they're also persevering as we go ahead. So I just want to kind of take a moment to recognize what's been going on in the last few weeks and the opportunities, even those challenges and some sadness, some things that have worked together. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And thank you, Lloyd, for being here tonight with all that you've gone through in the last 10 days. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all for being here.